Summer is just around the corner, or already here for some of us, or at least for those of us up here in the Northern Hemisphere. And that means all things fun in the sun. Unfortunately, a lot of those things can cause some major damage to your hair. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 tips to keep your hair healthy while still being able to do all the fun things. If you're new here, my name is Michelle. I'm a licensed hairstylist with over 20 years of experience, and on this channel I use those 20 years of experience to help you have healthy, happy hair. So tip number 1 for preventing any kind of damage from pool chemicals or also salt water is going to be to wet your hair down before you get into the pool. And by wetting your hair down, I mean in the shower or your kitchen sink or even a garden hose, something that doesn't have the pool chemicals in it or salt water in it. Get your hair completely soaking wet. The premise is that if your hair is already completely soaking wet, it cannot absorb any more water into it because it's already dripping, all running back out of your hair. So it's not going to be able to absorb that. Now, what can happen is your hair can dry out because you're probably not going to keep your head constantly underwater. You're going to be up above the water. Your hair is going to get a little bit dry and you might get some of that in there, but it will already have a good amount of the other water in there. So it's not going to be able to absorb as much of the pool chemicals and the salt water or anything like that as what you would if you were to just go right into the pool or the ocean without your hair being wet. And you can put something on it like a leave-in conditioner or an oil over the top of the water. I don't recommend just using either of those things. I really don't think that they put on their own, putting it an oil over dry hair really protects your hair all that much, because your hair still manages to get wet, and if it's absorbing that water, it's absorbing the stuff that's in the water. So instead of that, I definitely recommend using the water. I have done this ever since I was a kid. I actually got this tip from a hairdresser from when we were younger. We had a pool in our backyard. My sister is a natural blonde. Her hair was turning green from the chemicals in the pool, and we asked our family hairdresser at the time what we could do to keep that from happening and to keep our hair healthy while swimming all the time. And this is what she told us to do, and it is something that I have been doing ever since then. So for probably almost 4 decades at this point, I've been doing it. And then I also had my kids do it as well. And I can tell you from multiple years and decades of experience that this does work to help avoid absorbing all of that pool chemicals or the salt water from the ocean. And now she had suggested getting the hair wet before getting into the pool. I also recommend rinsing it as soon as you get out. So that's why I mentioned the garden hose. We used to keep a garden hose right down by the pool, and I would just rinse my hair when I got back out of the pool. And again, this just helps get some of that out of there. If your hair did absorb some of the pool water, it helps to get some of that out. And then anytime that I wanted to jump back in, I would just use the garden hose and re-wet my hair and then jump back in and continue to swim. Tip number 2 is kind of along the same lines, except for it is at the end of the day when you are finished swimming for the day, you're not going to swim anymore. Definitely make sure that you shampoo your hair. And even if that means that you're swimming every single day, so you're going to be shampooing every single day, I still recommend shampooing your hair after you have finished swimming. And now you might be kind of freaking out by that, especially if you're somebody who doesn't wash daily and you're worried about how much damage that could cause to your hair. Leaving the pool chemicals and the salt water in your hair is going to be a lot more damaging than shampooing it out. Those chemicals or the salt are definitely a lot harder on your hair than anything that's in shampoo. So getting those out of your hair is definitely key to helping to keep it healthy throughout the summer. Now, one shampoo that I definitely recommend, and this is one that I've been using since cosmetology school, which is, for me, I started cosmetology school in 1993, and I have been using it whenever I've gone swimming ever since then, and that is the Swimmer Shampoo by Malibu Sea. I'll put a picture of it up here somewhere. I highly recommend using this and the conditioner because the swimmer shampoo gets the chlorine and all of the other pool chemicals out of your hair, and then the conditioner helps to replace some of the moisture that's been lost due to being exposed to the chemicals in the pool. And as I said, I've been using these products for years and years. I'm not sponsored by them at all. I wish, that would be great, but I really like Malibu Sea products. Another one is the Undo Goo. You've probably heard me talking about that several times. I really like that one as well, and that would be a good one to use, not so much on a daily basis. The swimmer's shampoo you can use whenever you go swimming. So if you're swimming every day, you can use it every day. And the Undo Goo is a chelating shampoo and something that I would recommend if you're doing a lot of swimming in the ocean or whatever, to use that one. The swimmer's shampoo is more geared for pool water rather than the salt water. So the chelating shampoo can definitely help with the removal of the salt water. And then another product that Malibu Sea carries is a more intensive treatment with the swimmer shampoo, which if your hair has already gotten kind of discolored from the pool chemicals, so it's starting to turn green. If you're a blonde or if you have gray hair, you can use this treatment to pull that out of your hair and restore your hair back to the way that it was and pull all of the chemicals and the buildup out. And as an FYI, the green discoloration is actually not caused by the chlorine. It's caused by the copper in the algicide. Copper, when it oxidizes, turns green. Chlorine happens to be an oxidizer, so it causes the oxidation of the copper, and they work hand in hand, but it is not the chlorine that is turning your hair green. It is the two of them working together to just wreak havoc on your hair. And I believe I actually learned this information from the Malibu Sea educator who came to our cosmetology school when I learned about all of Malibu Sea's products back when they used to be called Malibu 2000. Tip number 3 is to wear your hair in a protective style. One thing that I used to do is I used to put my hair in a single French braid down the back of my head, and then I would take the end of the braid, the whole tail of it that would hang down, and I would tuck it back up in between my scalp and the braid that laid against my head. Now, wearing my hair like this, actually, I started wearing it like this more just to keep it out of my way and off my shoulders and off my neck and not have my hair driving me insane. But it also served a couple of other purposes. One is that it kept my hair from getting tangled while I was swimming. So while you're in the water and your hair is swishing all around, it's getting all tangled and gnarled up, and then when you get out and your hair dries, it's going to be snarly and tangly, and then you're going to have to try to detangle it later. Same thing for if you're out in the wind, or a combination of the two. You're swimming and your hair is getting all tangled in the water, and then you get out and the wind blows your hair and it further tangles your hair. So the tangles in and of themselves are not necessarily damaging, but trying to brush through some really heavily tangled hair is going to cause some mechanical damage, and mechanical damage is damage that cannot be repaired because it's essentially snapping your hair off when you're trying to detangle. And if you can't get through those knots and it breaks your hair off, you can't put it back on once it's broken off. So I definitely recommend putting your hair in some sort of style that is going to keep it from getting tangled up while you're swimming or while you're out and about and in the wind if it's a really windy day. So the other thing that this serves to do is to help keep your hair wetter for longer with the water from your shower or the water from your sink or your garden hose. So the longer it can stay wet with that water, then the less pool water or salt water it's going to be able to absorb, which is going to help to further protect your hair from damage from those things. So the other thing that wearing my hair like that did was it kept those ends really tucked up and out of the way of being touched by the sun. And that brings me to tip number 4, which is protecting your hair from the UV rays of the sun. The UV rays can and do break down the bonds in your hair, and the damage that can be done by the sun is equivalent to the damage that can be done by bleach. Therefore, you're going to want to make sure that you are protecting your hair from the sun's rays in one of 2 different ways. And just like I was mentioning with my ends that were tucked up and away and hidden from the sun, doing something similar where you're tucking your ends away or you're you're having your hair in a braid and there's less of your hair exposed to the sun, or you're putting a scarf over your hair, or wearing a hat, or doing a little bit of all of the above, is definitely going to help keep your hair protected from the damage from the sun. And it's most especially important to keep those ends protected, because your ends are going to be way more porous than the hair that's up near your scalp. And this is everybody. If your hair is longer than 1 inch or 2, your ends are going to be far more porous than your scalp. Everybody has this. It's just the way that it goes, because the longer your hair is, the longer it's been hanging around, the more it's been exposed to, the more times it's gotten wet and been washed and dried, and it causes it to become more porous over time. So the longer your hair is, the more porous those ends become. So you really want to make sure that you are keeping those ends protected, even more so than anything that's up at the scalp, which is why I mentioned tucking away the ends. Because even if you're wearing a hat, all of this might hang out from underneath the hat and might not be completely protected. And these are the things that need to be protected even more so than what you have at the scalp. And if you really want to make sure you have extra insurance against the UV rays, then I would definitely suggest finding products that have a UV protectant in them. Now, I have a lot of Evolve products because I absolutely love them. But one of the things that I absolutely love about all of their stylers is that they are a heat and UV protectant. So it does help protect against both. Also, their leave-in conditioners are the same way. They are heat and UV protectant. So almost any product that you get from Evolve will protect your hair against heat damage and UV damage, which I love. Now, this is not a video that is sponsored by Evolve in any way. I just really like their products, and I really like this aspect of their products, and I highly recommend giving them a try because their products are really good quality. If you'd like to try them out and you haven't yet, I do have a discount code down below, and I'll put it across the screen, but it's also in my description box. If you would like to purchase any of these products, you can use my discount code. Now, Evolve is not the only line that has UV protectant. I believe Aveda has one, Moroccanoil has one, and a quick search on Google should be able to produce a number of results. Also, there's the Curlsmith one that just came out that is heat and UV protectant, along with being able to protect your hair against the chemicals in the pool or the salt water damage. So that one protects your hair against pretty much all the things, which is great. I haven't tried that one yet at all. I don't have my hands on it or anything like that, but I really would like to. I'm all about anything that has any kind of protection in it like that, and I really like the idea of being able to protect your hair against everything all at once in one single product. So this brings us to tip number 5. So even though you might be doing all of the things, you're wetting your hair down beforehand and you're rinsing it off afterwards, you're shampooing it, you're using hair protectants, so either against heat, UV, or all of the above, you're getting the Curlsmith one, whatever. So you're doing all of the things except for, because it's summer and it's fun, maybe you're not keeping your hair wet with the cleaner water and it's starting to soak up some of the pool water, or maybe you forgot to put the heat protectant in or the UV protectant in. You might have forgotten something because it's summer and things are fun, and it's important to just go out and live your life and have a lot of fun. So the next tip then would be what to do to help keep your hair healthy from an aftercare perspective. So even if you're doing all of the things correctly, what do you do if you still find that your hair has gotten a little bit dry, maybe because of all the shampooing, so that you can get the chemicals out of your hair or whatever the case may be? What can you do to restore the health of your hair or to maintain the health of your hair right alongside with the prevention? So the first thing that I would recommend with the aftercare would be bond builders, especially if you have been exposed to the sun for prolonged periods of time and you didn't use any kind of UV protection, or even if you did, if you didn't reapply it, you probably have some damage done to the bonds in your hair. So using a bond builder is a good way to help repair some of that damage. And now there's the Olaplex, which I highly recommend, but there's also Curlsmith Bond. I can't remember, I think it's the Rehab Salve is what it's called. I can never remember the names of these things because they're really long, but I'll put it up here somewhere. And that's another good product. I've used both of those. I highly recommend both of those as a bond repair. And I think Twist by Ouidad also now has a bond repair. There are a number of companies that are coming out with different bond repair treatments and at different price points to fit every budget. Now, in conjunction with using the bond repair, I would also recommend doing some sort of deep conditioning treatments. And don't forget the protein, because your hair is going through an awful lot and you need to maintain the strength and structure of your hair in order for it to hold on to any kind of moisture whatsoever. So definitely don't forego the protein. Just make sure you're using the amount that your hair needs. Just kind of listen to what it's telling you that it needs. But even if it feels a little bit on the dry side, don't be too scared of using protein in your hair, because all hair does need at least a little bit of protein. The amount that you need is going to vary. That's going to vary from one person to the next, or the circumstances, and it could vary in your own hair depending on the day. But I definitely recommend using products that have some protein in them, and then also using some really conditioning, deep conditioning treatments, or really moisturizing deep conditioning treatments. And it's just going to be a matter of trying to find a balance between the two based on what your hair is telling you that it needs. And I do have a video about the protein moisture balance, and I'll put it right up here if you want to check that out and find out how to tell which one your hair needs or how much your hair needs of each. And I think a lot of people get kind of confused about the protein moisture balance, thinking that one balances the other, and that you use moisture and then to help balance out the protein or whatever. And it's not like that, because like I said, your hair needs both. It's a matter of finding how much of the protein it needs and how much of the moisture that it needs, and balancing it against itself. So the moisture against the moisture, the protein against the protein, and figuring out what combination of the two your hair needs at that particular moment. Hopefully you found this video helpful. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like me to do this for each season, because I can do this for the upcoming fall season. I can do it for winter or whatever, or for spring. Just let me know down below. I do live in a pretty static climate. It's pretty dry all year round, but I do know that for most people, the change of seasons can wreak havoc on their hair. So just drop a comment down below if you'd like me to do this for the upcoming seasons, and I will make a note of that and be sure to make those videos. If you like this video, please go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. And as always, thank you for watching.